let me introduce our guest today who truly defines resilience, growth, and transformation. Initially, she studied as a healthcare professional and spent over 10 years in school studying science. Then, after a life-altering accident, her life has changed 180 degrees. And now she is a successful leader in the financial industry who built an agency with over 15 licensed professionals working for her. Here we are, Diana Doan. Hi.
Oh, thank you. What a great introduction. Very flattering.
You're welcome. We've got some questions for you. And the first one I would like to address is, define yourself in 3 words.
Oh, define myself in 3 words. It's a little bit challenging, right? But I would say, one, I think I'm ambitious, for one, right? I have learned to know what I want and have set that end goal for myself. And now everything that I do, as long as I track what it is that I want every year, and I track my progress and I'm making strides towards it, then I'm happy. But of course, we're all human, and if I don't, then you just readjust, right? The second one is probably, I think I'm very understanding of people, right? I'm very patient, and just like how we know ourselves and how we behave. Sometimes people, you want them to do something, right? But maybe they won't get there right away because we're all human. We go back to our own habits. So I learned to, sometimes I have to retell myself to have patience, right? But I do think that I'm a pretty patient person. Maybe the third one to wrap it up is that I would like to think that I'm pretty focused on what it is that I want, right? Sometimes, of course, we have to refocus, and that's totally okay. But at the end of the day, it's more so of reminding myself my end goal, just like I said before with ambition, and making sure that I'm on track, right? So ambition, focus,
and patience. Great. That's a great quality to possess. And what motivates you? Like, why are you doing what are you doing?
I think at the end of the day, for me, it's family, right? And, I don't have any kids right now, right? But even for like my dad, my family is actually from Vietnam, and they came here in the late 1970s during the Vietnam War. And I see what it is that my dad has done. He had brought over both my Chinese side and my Vietnamese side. And for him, I see what he wanted to accomplish. He tried to open up a few businesses here because our goal is to have the, so they say, the American or the Canadian dream, right? And he tried to open up a few businesses, cleaning business, restaurants, but it didn't really succeed. So he said, Diana, go get a job, right? Go get a good job, go be a doctor. But I know for myself now that to be able to live the life that I think my dad or our family wanted to live by coming over here, I need to have something more than a job. So for me, it's really my family that drives me on that part, but also for the life of future children, because I want them to see me not only succeed but also fail and get back up many times over. Because you can only ask of your children what it is that you do yourself. And sometimes you don't need to ask them. You just need to show them. So I know that I will not succeed 100% of the time because the road to success is not linear, fortunately and unfortunately. But I know that if I just keep on going, right, the failures will, they'll happen and the kids will see. But hopefully the end goal, is success.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. The road is not that linear. It's bumpy, and then you have to learn new lessons, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you worked at healthcare like over 10 years. You were doing ultrasound, and you worked as a kinesiologist. So basically, you were employee working for the company.
Yes.
And then at some point you decided you want to stop that and you want to become employer yourself.
Yes.
And you want to like develop something, build something. How that happened and what transition you went through, like what positive like benefits and then like drawbacks that you, what obstacles you met at the time of that transition?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So I was a kinesiologist for probably about just under 10 years, right? Maybe about 9 years, and in healthcare for about another 9 years. And so I think at the crux of all that is that we all want to help people, right? And we want to do it in whichever form that makes us happy, right? And so when I was doing the personal training, the kinesiology, I feel like I was really helping people. And I'm sure I did, right? But I just wanted something different after a while because it wasn't fulfilling myself. And so I went back to school to be able to do ultrasound, right? And I do feel like, it's really cool. I love puzzles and I love figuring out puzzles and helping people out and actually getting to see the end result right away, right? But at the end of the day, that was me striving for someone else's goal, right? And when we look at it in terms of money, I wanted to be able to make the maximal amount of money for my family, work for my family. So I think the entire roadmap of all of this was for me to really understand my relationship with money, right? Because in the beginning, I didn't appreciate money in terms of I was one of those people who was taught to think that money is bad, and that's probably because our family didn't have very much, and so I think as I went on through life, I had to readjust my thinking about how I thought about money and why I thought about it that way. And now that took a few years, all right. But now I once I readjusted that, I realized I'm like, money is just a tool at the end of the day. And money can be in the hands of good people or bad people. And I honestly think myself as a good person. During my time, I would volunteer for BC Cancer Agency, and I would want to give back, to the kids who have cancer, who can't be like normal kids. And so even when I didn't have money, I would get money back. And so I just thought that I'm like, there are good people and bad people out there. It just depends on what they do with their money. Right. And so I don't know if that answers some of the question. Because
I realized that you came from the psychology of money is bad, realizing that actually money are not too bad and I actually need them.
Yes.
And then you started kind of looking to find out the sources, how you can make more money.
Yes.
And then you realized that the only way to make your money is just become your own employer.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. And then now I have to become your own employer, you must have some skills. What skills you should possess in order to become a leader? Like in order to manage people and organize stuff and all this stuff?
Well, I mean, I think the qualities that I possess are the same qualities I look for people when I want to be able to train them. And honestly, it's not necessarily the skill set in that one field. A leader to me just has to have the want, the desire to be where it is that they want to be, right? The focus to do that, and determination.
Desire, focus, and determination.
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, everything else can be learned, I believe. Social skills and, even like, in the financial realm, like if people want to learn about money, they can learn about money. It's that one is not an easy task. But as long as they want it bad enough, then it'll come.
And how is that managing people? You have over 15 professionals working for you.
Yes.
Like, how is that to deal with, to inspire them, to deal with a regular routine, like on daily basis? How do you, what methods do you use? Like,
every method I can think of.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, everyone is different.
Yeah.
You would like to think that, one answer fits for everyone, but it's not the case.
You have to have an individual approach to everyone.
Yes, you have to have an individual approach, but of course you set some times, right? When people are basically their own boss, you need to give them a timetable, right? And that's all I do. And I give people the expectations, and it just depends if they meet them. And if they meet them, then you work with them. And if they don't, then hopefully they will get there eventually.
How do you inspire them to work to get the result? How do you motivate them?
There's a motivation, which is extrinsic, right? So I can extrinsically motivate them, right? I can get them all the motivational speakers that they want. But at the end of the day, how often do you have it where you listen to a motivational speech and then the next day you forget and you don't do it? So the motivation has to come
inside, within.
Yeah. So whatever intrinsically that I feel for me, and if I can light some sort of fire in them, figure out what they want, why they want it, and every time, maybe they trip a little bit or they falter, I just remind them of intrinsically why they are here and remind them of that. Like, for example, and sometimes there's more than one, because I remember, my mentors doing this with me. And a lot of it was, visualization. One of them that really moved me a lot was, I remember when someone told me, what is it, if it really is for me to be able to give my dad a business that he can show the rest of our family, they said, envision this. What if, your dad, passed away tomorrow? Are you okay with sitting there and telling him, I'm so sorry, Dad, I tried. Right? And it was like, I want you to imagine that and envision that. And that should be the reason why you wake up every morning. And that got me up, right? It's not all the positive things, right? I want to get up because I want to, and I do, I want to do all the good for my family. I want this size of a house. I want that house by the beach. I want that house in Mexico and, Vietnam or wherever.
To have a good lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right?
But I found for myself that maybe the fear motivated me intrinsically more.
Fear.
For the long term. Yeah, the fear
That's
of not doing it in time.
So basically, like if you take from I wouldn't do it because I'm afraid it's not mine, I wouldn't succeed, or I will do it even if I fail, I still try, at least I wouldn't regret because I tried. You will pick the second one.
Oh, yeah. If you go, and I think it's more like fear of failure, or fear of regret. I fear regret much, much greater than any fear of failure.
That's interesting. So is it harder to work for yourself, to be responsible for the business and for people who are working for you? Or it's much harder, I believe. Or being employee, working for somebody else, working for hours, and then at the end of the day, you come home and you relax and you enjoy and watching TV. Have you ever regret about changing your life? And especially in some days where you're stressed and you can't go to bed at a certain time like you want.
Well, I mean, I think both lives are hard, right? The employee life is definitely hard, right? You work day in, day out, and you do the same thing. And the hard is just, you work for X amount of money and you now build a lifestyle to fit that paycheck. The entrepreneur lifestyle is hard in a different realm. You're trying to grow your paycheck and then to be able to fit the lifestyle that you really want. But yes, you do. Do you have a lot of flexibility? Yeah. But do you make a lot of sacrifices as well? Yes. So I think both realms, we can't say that one is harder than the other because both will have their heart, but we just have to choose which heart that you want. And for me, I just, some days that I won't deny that I flip-flop sometimes mentally. But at the end of the day, I still rather, just like I said, I rather not to regret for not trying, because I do think I have what it takes to be able to get the lifestyle that I want, and the lifestyle that is greater than what I would have at my job. But don't get me wrong. Sometimes I do think about, I'm like, oh man, it'd be so much easier. But those lapses are much, much smaller now. And I very much want to have the life that I feel like I deserve.
Thank you so much. Last question I have for you. What advice can you give to our audience for people who want to start their own business?
I think it's great, that you started. And I think it's just, main thing is you just gotta be focused. You gotta be determined, right? And you gotta be disciplined. And there are gonna be days where you feel like you don't want to do it. And that's okay. That's totally normal, right? But just stick through it. Give it honestly like a solid 2 years at least. Every time that you have your thoughts of, going back, you'll get less and less and less. But just surround yourself with people who are like-minded or who you want to be, have the mindset of. And those people are the ones who are going to be lifting you up. And honestly, if you're the least successful person in the room, that's probably the room you want to be in. Right? So just give it at least 2 solid years, honestly. And give it a really solid go for those 2 years.
Yeah. Thank you, Diane. Thank you. It was very informative. I really appreciate it. You came to our studio and you have your time and you shared your most interesting secrets, I would say, to our audience. So if you want to be successful and entrepreneurial world, you got to be focused, determined, and disciplined. This is advice from Diane. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me here today.